Hey guys, Rick and Duke. Welcome to another episode of Warhog Words of Wisdom. This one here, we're going to talk about canine casualty care and why I think that's so instrumental, especially for the law enforcement officer. First, let me knock out some housekeeping. Those of you asking who's this Duke character? So Duke was my combat assault dog. I lost him July 5th, 2021 to osteosarcoma. We started the show. We're going to end the show. And it's kind of fitting that here we are going to talk about canine casualty care. Guys, don't forget, huge, big news, right? Go to warhog.com, kellydefense.com. Make sure you guys, number one, sign up for the newsletter. Two, scroll down. OTR on demand. I mean, new stuff we're excited about. Make sure you guys check that out. New thing going on. And then don't forget patreon.com/on the range podcast. You guys will do a bi-monthly Zoom call with me and Mark. It's interactive, ask you guys questions, do all that other stuff. So everything's all good with that. So let's kind of jump right into the canine casualty care piece. So first and foremost, let me kind of lay out how we conducted canine casualty care when I was in the military. So first and foremost, medical training is one of the, primary things we're doing, right? You got to be able to save your buddy's life. So yes, you focus on the human side of it, but also being a canine handler, we would do some things that were specific to canines. So again, the two cross-pollinate, and I think a lot of people get confused that you got to have a specific, canine med care. Dude, if you've got some human med care, you can do some things to save that dog. Understand this too. Here's the other part. You got to understand, when I was in the military, Duco was accounted for on the manifest. So he was very much part of the team. He was a U.S. service member. If he were wounded, and we've had other dogs wounded overseas, man, we would call in a medevac aircraft to get them out of there. Now, all this is going to play critical here in a little bit. And I ask you guys, when you're listening to the show, do me a huge favor. At the end, when I kind of lay everything out, forward this to your, if you've got law enforcement buddies, canine handlers, chiefs, sheriffs, I don't care what entity, get this word out there because this is absolutely critical. So yes, we would call in a medevac aircraft for our wounded canines. Here's the thing. We weren't looking for a vet. Let me say that again. We weren't looking for a vet. That medevac was basically picking up the patient, human or canine, and taking them back to whatever surgical hospital they had set up that was going to handle that casualty. So let me say that again. Humans were working on canines. Okay. Now, I will caveat this. Our vet staff did a fantastic job. They would make sure that they would go around, and there were some canine specific items they would make sure that those hospitals would have kind of tucked away in a certain spot. So they knew, hey, if they had a canine victim come in, not a canine victim is a terrible word, canine casualty come in, they would be able to have the right tools there for that dog. Now, there's been plenty of human surgeons. I mean, trauma is trauma, right? Been plenty of human surgeons that have worked on canines. Do they have any veterinary care? Nope. At the end of the day, trauma is trauma, right? We need to keep the dog breathing. We need to stop bleeding, do all that stuff to maintain him so that he doesn't pass, depending on whatever his severity of wounds are. I say all that because this is going to segue right into my next part. I am appalled that here in the United States, we do not have plans in place for canine officers. That's right, canine officers to have a medevac plan. Now, it's some shoddy thing like, hey, we're going to take him to the vet and stuff like that. But here's my thing. That vet, how much training do they have with trauma? I have had officers tell me that they're actual heads of ERs. And if you're one of these docs, dude, I think you should be fired, right? I'm going to speak as plain and as open as I can. I think you should be fired, that you will not allow wounded canine officers to be treated in your ER. What is your problem? So part of it goes when you're passing this, info out, guys, please, when you're sharing it, not only share it with your, LE buddies, but also share it with some of these docs and nurses and everything else. Why wouldn't you take care of this dog? So here's the thing. People go, well, it's a human doctor. The dog's not clean, not whatever. Okay, let's think about some of your human patients that come in. You think they're all clean and nice, and dude, people are banged up. So why won't these ERs take care of these dogs? Because trust me, I would rather have an ER doc that's used to dealing with trauma injuries take care of my dog. So with that being said, what's the medevac plan? I got it. If you're in a pinch, hey man, throw them in the cruiser and go, or your vehicle, whatever you got, get them and go. But then you've got EMS that won't transport these canines either. And I'm sitting there going, what is flawed with this system? He holds the title canine officer for whatever department, yet we don't want to give him that very respect that he deserves out there serving his community, just like his human counterparts. And we don't want to bring an ambulance in to transport him. We don't want these ERs, don't want a dog in the ER. Man, he's more than a dog. Okay. So I will just put it in kind of this standpoint. Duco was very much a part of the team. He was a U.S. service member. He wore the stars and stripes. He got all the privileges that his human counterparts did. If he needed medevac aircraft, we're calling it in. Human doctors are working on him. I'm not looking for that vet. There might be one in country. God knows how many hours away. By the time you find that vet, the dog's dead. Now, granted, some of these dogs, if you want to say post recovery, yeah, go see the vet and stuff like that. That's fine. But my point being is I am appalled that when I talk to officers and just find out what their evac plan is for their canine, it's horrible. And I'm not putting the vets down out there. I'm not at all. Hats off to you for opening your doors to these canine officers. Thank you for that. But again, the ER is open 24/7, 365. That's a known. I know for a fact, regardless what I'm doing, what hour of the day it is, I've got medical care I can get that dog to. Now, with that being said, that's kind of smashing the system. But it also, you have to look at the canine officer itself. Do you have a canine med kit? So yeah, you should have your individual. So I'm sure you've got your tourniquet. Not that we've seen a bunch of amputations per se with canines overseas, but your human tourniquet does not work the best on some of those canine parts or canine limbs, I should say. Are you actually getting out, getting med training? And then, oh, by the way, are you getting med training for your canine? Because here's the deal. He can't help himself. If he's wounded, he's relying on you to take care of him. Another step when you kind of look at the whole vet, entity of it is, can your veterinarians give you, basically we had a med card, and the med card laid out, here's his weights, here's his shots, here's all this stuff, just some info. So now when you come rolling in, and again, the whole point being, this was for the human docs. They're not guessing on dosage. They're not guessing anything about this animal. All the info is right there, and it kind of laid out some things that they may not be used to when dealing with a working dog. Hey man, what's his temperature supposed to be? What's his respiration supposed to be? All that info is kind of laid out there for him. Hey, here, what was his weight? And we were very, very diligent on weighing these dogs, how much they're getting, all that stuff. So all that care goes in. But I still go back to the very essence of why are we not taking care of these canine officers? They're out there serving our community. Let's just turn around and give them that medical care, that respect they deserve. And again, guys, I ask you to do me a huge favor with this. Pass it on. If you've got people in that work in the hospitals, pass it to them. Again, we got to get eyes open. We got to get people understanding. Pass it to these law enforcement officers, canine handlers, supervisors, chiefs, sheriffs. I don't care. Get the word out there, but have a policy in place that, God forbid, your canine officer gets wounded. You have some type of plan to take care of that dog. And then if you're the canine handler for that dog, do you have the proper med gear for that dog? Now, there's some interesting things that come up, especially when you're dealing with furry creatures. Some things you got to have on hand. I mean, God forbid they get a second chest wound or something like that. What do you have occlusive dressing wise? Because that's a lot of fur, man. That's a lot to put it on there. And granted, you could do, some hand pressure on there to help seal and everything else. But what if you got to drive this guy to, either to the ambulance, to the ER, to whatever your situation is? You may not be able to apply that pressure. And then again, is your occlusive dressing just falling off because of all that hair on there? Do you have the proper equipment just to help your buddy prolong a little bit of time so you can get into that next higher level of care? They carry that title, man, canine officer. I don't understand from Rick's standpoint why we're not taking care of them to the full extent. Why? I was absolutely blown away when I had some officers tell me, no, the ER said that dog ain't coming in here. I'm like, excuse me? And again, if it were me, I'd be like, hey, dude, if you're the head of the ER and that's your policy, you're fired. Beat it. Go find somewhere else to go work. Because now I sit there and go, if you don't want to take care of this canine officer, how well are you going to take care of actually my officers? You got something against law enforcement? I don't know. But my point being is they're serving that community very much as their two-legged counterparts. Let's just give them the quality of care that's all that they deserve. God forbid they're ever injured in the line of duty. So with that, guys, like I said, please share. On the whole SharePoint, do me a favor. Don't forget, if you're driving, I got it, find a safe spot, but sit there and subscribe, leave us a rating, review, all that other good stuff that we need to help bump this algorithm. And again, just get more people to understand or hear about On the Range podcast and the different things that the On the Range, I can talk here, that On the Range Podcast University has in stored. So again, whether it's Warhog Words of Wisdom, the actual On the Range podcast itself, or Mark and his Vantage Point, a lot of content out there, a lot of information. And then, oh, by the way, don't forget, we just started up a new show with Dr. Jason Piccolo, Romeo Charlie Reality Check. Episode 1 is in the book. So that's me, Jason, and Mark. And we talked about how to secure your castle. So again, new episode, super excited about that one. And again, it's just expanding that reach, getting more information out there to you guys. Last thing, guys, don't forget, warhog.com, kellydefense.com. Make sure you check out OTR On Demand. Sign up for our newsletters. And guys, I can't thank you enough for all your support. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless our troops. God bless the United States of America. Rick and Duco